Why the hardest workers remain poor, the truth society doesn't want to hear. Part 1/4, American Dark Philosophy. Approximately 2.200 words. People don't stay poor because they don't try hard enough. They stay poor because the world quietly decided who's allowed to win. And who's expected to suffer for trying. That's the truth polite society refuses to say. We love the idea that hard work always pays off, because it gives us comfort. It keeps the world predictable. It makes the winners feel deserving. And the losers feel responsible for their own misery. It's a beautiful lie. And it's one of the most profitable lies ever created. Because if the masses believe effort guarantees success, nobody will question why the hardest working people are almost always the ones with the least. Why the cleaners, the construction workers, the waiters, the drivers, the factory workers, the caretakers, the single parents working 2 jobs, the people who wake before sunrise and return after midnight. Why are they still poor? Why do the people who give the most physical effort get the least economic reward? Why does society take their sweat as a given and pretend maybe they should work harder? As if they aren't already bleeding time, energy, and years? There is only one explanation. Hard work doesn't equal progress. Hard work without leverage equals exhaustion. The system is built like a pyramid, and hard workers are at the bottom holding it up. The world is not a fair stadium where anyone can win if they just play harder. It's a pyramid, with room for very few at the top, and millions laboring at the bottom to make sure that top never collapses. This is why the hardest workers remain poor. Someone needs to hold the weight. Someone needs to keep the machine running. Someone needs to grind. The system isn't designed to reward effort. It's designed to consume effort. The world doesn't run on genius. It runs on bodies. On the people who show up no matter what. On the people who don't have a choice. On the people who trade sleep, youth, and health just to stay afloat. They are not rewarded for working hard. They are expected to work hard. In fact, the system punishes them the second they stop. That's not opportunity. That's dependency. And dependency keeps you poor. The truth. Poverty isn't a result, it's a design. People love telling the poor, you're broke because you're irresponsible. You're broke because you didn't plan. You're broke because you didn't work hard enough. But here's the truth nobody teaches in school. Poverty isn't the absence of effort. It's the absence of options. You can work 12 hours a day without ever having ownership, capital, leverage, connections, margin, protection, opportunity, time to think, time to learn, space to breathe. When you lack these, your effort becomes survival, not advancement. The rich have buffers. The poor have consequences. One mistake destroys them. One medical bill ruins them. One layoff breaks them. One bad month buries them. All while they are working harder than everyone else. This isn't failure. This is the architecture of inequality. Why hard work doesn't work anymore. Hard work mattered in the past when you could buy a home with one job. College was affordable. Wages matched living costs. Companies valued loyalty. Inflation wasn't an enemy. Job security existed. Savings grew. Families needed one income, not 2. That world is gone. Today's world punishes effort and rewards. Automation, ownership, capital, digital leverage, financial literacy, knowing the right people, being in the right industry at the right time. The game changed. But the advice didn't. We still tell people, work harder. As if they aren't already working to the point of exhaustion. Hard work doesn't work in a system where your hours have a cap. Your wages are flat. Your rent rises. Your bills grow. Your money loses value. Your debt multiplies. Your job is disposable. Your time is your only asset. You can't escape poverty by selling something that runs out every day. Your energy, your hours, your body. The hardest workers are trapped in survival mode. Poverty is not just a financial condition. It is a psychological prison. When you're broke, you think like someone being chased. Your brain enters survival mode. How do I pay this bill? How do I get through this week? How do I keep the lights on? How do I avoid eviction? How do I stretch $20 until next Monday? Survival mode destroys long-term thinking. It kills creativity, planning, risk tolerance, confidence, patience, strategic thinking, mental bandwidth. A wealthy person thinks in decades. A middle-class person thinks in months. A poor person thinks in days. Not because they're stupid, because they're drowning. You can't build a future while fighting to stay alive. The system rewards obedience, not ambition. Most hard-working people weren't taught to succeed. They were taught to comply. Schools teach. Follow instructions. Sit still. Repeat information. Don't question authority. Fear failure. Wait for permission. Chase grades. Obey schedules. These habits make you a great employee and a terrible wealth builder. You need creativity, negotiation, risk, sales, personal branding, money literacy, strategy, autonomy, networking. None of these are taught. Not by accident, but by design. Because a society full of financially independent people would collapse the labor system. So the system produces just enough dream to keep you hopeful, but not enough knowledge to make you free. Why hard workers remain poor, the most honest explanation. It's not that they lack drive. It's that they're stuck in an economic loop with no escape route. Working hard gives you survival. Working smart gives you advantage. Working strategically gives you leverage. Owning assets gives you freedom. Most hardworking people get stuck at level 1. Survival. Not because they choose to, but because survival consumes everything else. You can't learn stock investing when you're working double shifts. You can't build a business when you're too tired to think. You can't explore new opportunities while raising children alone. You can't grow your network when you're stuck at work every weekend. You can't take risks when one mistake equals disaster. The problem isn't ambition. The problem is exhaustion. The most brutal truth. Not everyone has the luxury to improve their life. You know who becomes successful? People with time, energy, mental space, financial safety nets, supportive families, less stress, better environment, lower starting pressure, and the freedom to experiment. These people can afford to take risks, try new careers, build projects, fail without ruin, invest time in learning, focus deeply, think long-term. Hardworking poor people can't. It's not that they can't dream. It's that the price of dreaming is too high. If they fail, they lose everything. And fear like that keeps you stuck. The question was, why do the hardest workers remain poor? Here is the answer society never wants to admit. Because the world does not reward effort. It rewards position. It rewards leverage. It rewards ownership. It rewards knowledge. It rewards timing. It rewards what you control, not what you endure. Hard work is noble. Hard work is honorable. Hard work is admirable. But hard work alone is not enough. Not in this economy. Not in this system. Not in this era. The people who work the hardest are the ones the system depends on the most, and therefore the ones it keeps in place. They aren't poor because they're weak. They're poor because the system profits when they stay exactly where they are. The world loves telling a comforting lie. If you want a better life, work harder. But here's the truth people choke on. Hard work is the currency of the powerless. Strategy is the currency of the powerful. The poor are told to sacrifice. The rich are told to optimize. And the difference between sacrifice and optimization is the difference between drowning and swimming. Hardworking people drown, not because they lack strength, but because they were taught to fight the waves, instead of learning to ride them. The world doesn't pay for sweat, it pays for impact. People think the world pays for effort. It doesn't. It pays for influence, scale, distribution, ownership, control, systems, value creation. The richest people don't work the hardest. They build things that work for them. Meanwhile, the hardest workers give everything they have to things that stop the moment they do. If you get paid only when you show up, you're trapped. If your income stops the second you take a break, you're trapped. If you work 10 hours and earn the same as 5, you're trapped. If your contribution makes others rich while your reward stays flat, you're trapped. This is why many hardworking people stay poor. Their effort has no multiplier. The economy is built on invisible classes. Most people think the class system is about income. No. It's about position in the economic engine. There are 4 invisible classes. 1. The time sellers, poor. They trade hours for survival. If they stop, the income stops. Hard work keeps them alive but never elevates them. 2. The skill sellers, working, middle class. They trade specialized skill for a higher hourly value. But their income still depends on presence and performance. Growth is slow. Ceilings appear quickly. 3. The value owners, upper class. They own pieces of systems, equity, businesses, royalties, real estate, automation. Their money multiplies. Their income is detached from their time. 4. The system designers, top 1%. They architect the structures everyone else works inside. They choose the rules. They decide who rises. They are almost untouchable. Hardworking people stay poor because they're stuck in class 1 or 2. While the game is rigged by classes 3 and 4. And nobody teaches you how to climb the ladder. Because the ladder wasn't built for everyone. Star why the poor never catch up, the gap grows while they rest. People say, work harder, keep going, you're getting closer. No, they're not. Here's the reality. By the time a poor person finishes a long day of work, they're exhausted. They rest. While they rest, inflation rises. While they rest, rent increases. While they rest, interest grows. While they rest, the cost of living outpaces their wages. While they rest, the wealthy invest, leverage, scale, and expand. Resting shouldn't be a disadvantage. But in this system, it is. The rich get richer while they sleep. The poor fall behind while they sleep. It's not because the poor aren't trying. It's because the system outruns their ability to recover. Star the hardest workers have the least access to life-changing knowledge. Knowledge builds wealth. But not all knowledge is the same. There is public knowledge. Work hard. Save money. Be responsible. Get a stable job. Go to school. This knowledge keeps society functioning. Then there is private knowledge. Leverage. Asset building. Tax structures. Capital movement. Negotiation. Compounding. Ownership strategies. Distribution channels. Insider networks. Market timing. This knowledge builds empires. The poor get the first type. The wealthy get the second. Most hardworking people stay poor because they're never exposed to the information that could free them. They don't know what they don't know. You can't win a game when you don't know the rules. And the rules are hidden on purpose. Star the hours of the poor are worth less by systemic design. If 2 people work 10 hours, one earns $10 per hour. The other earns $1 per hour. Who worked harder? Neither. They worked the same amount of time. But one person's time is valued differently. Here's the dark truth. The system doesn't value effort. It values position and replaceability. Hardworking people stay poor because their labor is easily replaceable. Their skills are undervalued by markets. Their industries have low margins. Their jobs produce linear income, not exponential value. Their employers profit more from their effort than they do. The system keeps their time cheap. So someone else's time stays expensive. This isn't a conspiracy. It's economics. Star the poor are trained to be risk-averse, and risk is the price of freedom. Wealth requires risk. Starting something. Investing. Trying new paths. Failing and recovering. Taking opportunities with uncertain outcomes. Moving away from stability toward potential. But fear of risk is embedded into poor communities. Don't start a business, it's too risky. Don't invest, you might lose money. Don't leave your job, at least it's secure. Don't try something new, what if it doesn't work? Don't chase dreams, you need to be realistic. Risk is a luxury when failure is survivable. The wealthy can bounce back. The poor can't. So they choose stability. But stability is a trap. The more stable your income, the more stagnant your life. Security becomes a cage, a comfortable prison. And year after year, nothing changes. Star the hardest workers are also the most tired, and tired people don't win. This is one of the most painful truths. Poverty steals energy. And energy is more valuable than money. When you are exhausted, you think less clearly, learn more slowly, hesitate more quickly, fear more intensely, dream less boldly, fall into habits that preserve comfort, not growth, avoid opportunities that require courage. Tired people don't take risks. Tired people don't innovate. Tired people don't explore. Tired people don't strategize. Tired people survive. But surviving is not the same as living. And the poor are kept tired on purpose. Because tired people don't revolt. Tired people don't disrupt. Tired people don't question the system. Tired people clock in, clock out, repeat. Start the brutal cycle of poverty interest. Here's the dark math. Being poor is more expensive than being rich. Poor people pay higher interest rates. Poor people pay more for bad credit. Poor people pay more fees. Poor people pay more for emergencies. Poor people pay more rent, long term, than homeowners pay in mortgage. Poor people buy cheap things that break quickly. Poor people lose money through inflation because they can't invest. Poor people pay with time, the most expensive currency. Everything they do costs more in the long run. Meanwhile, the wealthy get lower rates, better terms, tax advantages, access to opportunities, compounding interest instead of compounding debt. When you're poor, every step forward is erased by the interest dragging you backward. This is why the hardest workers stay poor. Their progress is constantly taxed by their circumstances. People say, if you want a better life, work harder. But the truth is this: hard work is not the engine of wealth. Leverage is. Position is. Access is. Knowledge is. Energy is. Time is. Freedom is. Safety is. Environment is. Starting point is. The hardest workers stay poor because they are not given these things. They are given responsibility without power, discipline without direction, effort without leverage, work without equity, loyalty without reward. They are the backbone of the system. And the system survives by keeping its backbone too busy to stand upright. They're not stuck because they're weak. They're stuck because the world benefits from their struggle. The world loves celebrating stories of people who pulled themselves out of poverty, but rarely acknowledges the millions who worked just as hard and never made it out. Because here's the part society hides. Success stories are exceptions. Struggle is the rule. We put the exceptions on posters. We write books about them. We make movies. We say, see, it's possible. But we never talk about the system that required millions to fail so one person could succeed. It's not meant to be fair. It's meant to be functional. And it functions by keeping the hardest working people exactly where they are. The world needs hard workers, but not successful ones. Imagine if every construction worker became financially free. If every janitor owned assets. If every driver built wealth. If every server became independent. If every factory worker moved upward. Who would keep the machine running? Here is the darkest truth about the economy. It only works if the majority never rises. Not because they're unworthy, but because the system depends on inexpensive labor to keep everything affordable for everyone above them. The people at the bottom subsidize the comfort of the people above. And the system protects that structure with two weapons: scarcity, exhaustion. Scarcity keeps people fearful. Exhaustion keeps them compliant. Combine both, and you have a population that works endlessly without questioning why they're not moving. The hardest workers are trapped by the cost of being poor. People love saying, if they just managed their money better, they wouldn't struggle. But this assumes something painfully wrong: that the system gives everyone the same starting line. It doesn't. When you're poor, rent takes half your paycheck. Food costs more because cheap food is unhealthy. Transportation costs more because you can't afford repairs. Medical bills hit you harder because you don't have savings. Emergencies destroy you because you have no buffer. Credit traps you because rates are higher. Debt grows faster than income. The world punishes you for being broke. This is the poverty trap. You spend your whole life paying more to live less. You're not failing. You're being drained. And drained people don't rise. They endure. The system teaches you to chase security, and security is a trap. When you grow up struggling, you learn to value stability above everything. You avoid risk. You seek predictability. You look for safe jobs. You cling to routines. But here's the paradox. Security prevents you from becoming wealthy. Wealth requires risk, uncertainty, trial and error, investing, building, experimenting, stepping outside comfort, choosing growth over safety. Hardworking people are taught the exact opposite. Don't risk anything. Be grateful. Don't lose your job. Play it safe. Stick to what you know. But safety doesn't create new doors. Safety locks the old doors shut. This is why the people who want stability most are the people who stay stuck the longest. It's not their fault. It's their conditioning. The hardest workers are also the most exploited. Here's something society refuses to say. The more responsible you are, the easier you are to exploit. Hardworking people show up no matter what. Don't complain. Sacrifice their time. Feel guilty saying no. Take pride in endurance. Stay loyal even when it hurts them. Keep promises. Help others even when they're tired. Believe quitting is weakness. These qualities make them incredible human beings. And easy to take advantage of. Employers know this. Systems know this. Industries know this. They depend on people who never push back. The hardworking get punished with more work. The obedient get overloaded. The reliable get exploited. The loyal get ignored. The quiet get overlooked. Effort becomes a target. Discipline becomes a trap. Loyalty becomes leverage used against them. And the heartbreaking part? They think it's their fault. Star poor people are trained to play fair, and fairness doesn't scale. The poor are taught to behave, to follow the rules, to avoid shortcuts, to never question authority, to be humble, to not want too much. But the upper class, they don't play the same game. They negotiate, break patterns, take bold moves, use the system to their advantage, build before they need to, leave jobs that underpay, move to where the opportunity is, ask for more, push back, leverage every advantage. You can't win a game when you're playing with rules that the winners openly ignore. Hardworking people stay poor because they're conditioned to play fair in an unfair world. The economy rewards creators, not participants. In this era, wealth comes from creating solutions, creating content, creating assets, creating technology, creating networks, creating demand, creating systems. But hardworking people are trained to execute tasks, follow instructions, maintain routines, perform physical labor, repeat processes. This is noble, but it doesn't scale. And in a digital economy, if what you do doesn't scale, your income doesn't either. If you can't repeat your work without being physically present, you can't break the ceiling. The rich don't escape poverty with effort. They escape it with scalability. Something most hardworking people never learn because they're too busy trying to survive. Hard workers are trapped in the comfort of misery. There's a kind of sadness that becomes familiar, almost comfortable. Many hardworking people fall into the comfort of misery. They don't love their life, but they understand it. It's predictable. It's known. It doesn't surprise them. Human beings will choose a known misery over an unknown possibility, almost every time. Why? Because possibility includes risk. Risk includes fear. Fear includes vulnerability. And hardworking people have been taught their entire lives that stability is better than possibility. So they stay where they are, even when it hurts. Because the fear of losing what little they have is bigger than the hope of gaining something more. This isn't stupidity. It's human nature shaped by hardship. The hardest workers are never given the luxury of time. Time is the ultimate wealth. People with free time, flexible schedules, mental space, breathing room, can plan. They can study. They can build. They can strategize. They can explore. They can reinvent themselves. But the hardest workers, they wake up early. They rush. They grind. They commute. They serve. They collapse. They repeat. They are exhausted down to the bone. You can't climb when all your energy goes into not falling. Time poverty is the enemy that kills every opportunity before it begins. The poor don't lack intelligence. They lack hours. And hours are the ladder out of poverty. Hardworking people stay poor for one reason. They were trained to survive inside a system they were never taught to escape. They weren't taught leverage, ownership, compounding, negotiation, automation, scaling, networking, financial literacy, economic psychology, long-term strategy. They were taught obedience, discipline, consistency, sacrifice, endurance. And while these traits make them strong, they also make them trapped. They contribute to society, but society does not return the favor. They are essential, but not rewarded. They are the backbone, but treated like the floor. Their hard work holds up the world, and the world quietly demands they never rise high enough to leave their post. The world says, success is simple, just work hard. But the truth is far more sinister. Hard work is the fuel of society. And fuel is never meant to rise, it's meant to burn. The systems that govern the world don't collapse because people fail. They collapse when too many people succeed. If every hardworking person gained wealth, power, and freedom, the economy as we know it would implode. There would be no cheap labor, no disposable workers, no one desperate enough to take unrewarding jobs, no one exhausted enough to stay silent, no one scared enough to accept the minimum. And that is the real reason the hardest workers stay poor. Not because they failed, but because the system succeeds when they don't. The system is designed around 3 unbreakable principles. 1. Someone must do the work. And the people who do the work must stay tired enough not to leave. 2. Someone must pay the price. And it's easier to charge the people who have the least power to object. 3. Someone must stay at the bottom. Not by morality, not by laziness, but by necessity. If everyone climbed, the ladder would fall. This is the part no politician says. No motivational speaker admits. No company acknowledges. The system requires imbalance to survive. Not because people are unequal, but because opportunity is unequal by design. The world keeps you busy so you never become dangerous. Here's something most people never notice. The poorest people are the busiest. Not by choice, by structure. When you are constantly working, commuting, recovering, worrying, budgeting, fixing emergencies, fighting deadlines, stretching paychecks, you don't have time for strategic thinking, self-education, new skills, financial literacy, long-term planning, entrepreneurship, reinvention. The world doesn't have to oppress you if it can exhaust you. Exhaustion is the most effective form of control. Exhausted people don't change systems. Exhausted people don't question rules. Exhausted people don't revolt. Exhausted people don't reinvent their lives. They simply try to survive the week. And the system counts on that. Why the poor are blamed for their poverty. It's easier to say they're poor because they made bad choices than to admit they're poor because the system benefits from it. Blaming the individual protects the structure. It shifts attention away from wage stagnation, inflation, predatory lending, corporate consolidation, lack of affordable housing, lack of financial education, unequal opportunity, generational disadvantage, wealth concentration, exploitation of labor. It's not that hard workers fail to rise. It's that the structure is designed so that rising is the exception, not the rule. This is why society idolizes the self-made success story. It hides the fact that the ladder is missing rungs for most people. The poor are sold hope instead of opportunity. Look around. There are entire industries built on promising upward mobility without actually providing it. Motivational content, self-help books, hustle culture, low-wage, advancement programs, predatory MLMs, exploitative gig work, financial traps disguised as chances. These systems sell hope, not progress. They keep people believing, if I try a little more, push a little harder, sacrifice a little longer, then everything will change. But hope without structural access is just emotional fuel. And the system burns hope the same way it burns effort. The true reason hard workers stay poor. They were never taught what actually builds wealth. Wealth doesn't come from hours, sweat, overtime, loyalty, discipline, endurance. These things make you strong, but they do not make you wealthy. Wealth comes from leverage, doing work that scales, ownership, having assets that grow, financial literacy, connections, opportunity, working in the right environment, being in the right position, understanding systems, building things that don't require your presence, learning how money actually moves. None of this is taught to the hardest workers. Not in school, not in job training, not in their communities, not in the media. So they keep applying more effort to a machine that cannot reward them for it. Imagine pushing a broken elevator button harder. The elevator still won't move. But pushing feels productive. This is what poverty becomes. Repetition disguised as progress. The poorest people carry the heaviest invisible cost. When a person grows up poor, they inherit self-doubt, scarcity thinking, fear of failure, risk aversion, stress, urgency, lack of planning, lack of exposure, bad information, low confidence environments, survival habits. These stick to the mind like permanent weight. Even when they escape poverty financially, they often carry the mindset for decades. Because poverty isn't just a condition, It's a culture. And breaking a culture requires more than working hard. It requires seeing a different world. Something many never get to see. Start the cruelest truth. The system needs your effort, but not your advancement. Hardworking people are the foundation. They drive the buses. They repair the roads. They deliver the goods. They build the houses. They stock the shelves. They prepare the food. They serve the customers. They keep the infrastructure alive. But without their economic disadvantage, the entire cost structure collapses. If hardworking people rose financially, prices would skyrocket. Corporations would lose cheap labor. Essential services would become expensive. Inequality would shrink. The wealthy would lose leverage. In a system designed around hierarchy, the bottom must remain crowded to support the weight above. This is not a conspiracy. It's economics. So how does anyone escape this? Not with more hours, more effort, more obedience, more sacrifice. Those are the tools that keep you stuck. The way out is through learning how money actually works, building skills with exponential value, escaping time for money traps, creating things that scale, improving your environment, surrounding yourself with different thinkers, embracing healthy risk, unlearning beliefs that served survival but kill growth, leveraging technology, understanding systems, not tasks. Breaking poverty is not about working harder. It's about working differently. Poverty is a maze. Hard work runs you in circles. Understanding the layout gets you out. Start the final, unfiltered truth. You were told, hard work leads to success. But the real truth is this. Hard work leads to exhaustion. Strategy leads to elevation. Leverage leads to freedom. Ownership leads to escape. Hardworking people stay poor. Not because they are flawed, but because they are the fuel the system runs on. If everyone became wealthy, the system would collapse. So the system rewards just enough upward mobility to maintain hope, but not enough to create mass escape. And until someone teaches you how to step outside the engine, instead of continuing to power it, you remain essential, but never free.